The Prime Minister has revealed his plan to cut congestion in capital cities. Immigrants will be encouraged to move to the regions and the annual cap will fall. But as Jonathan Kersley reports, that's prompted warnings it could damage the budget.
The government's wanting to release the pressure in crowded cities.
A responsible migration plan, busting congestion in our cities, planning to grow together.
A population policy with $75 billion to be spent on infrastructure and a lower cap on immigration, cutting the annual intake from 190,000 to 160,000, a similar number to last financial year.
This plan is about protecting the quality of life.
Wow, this government's announced a cut of 1%. You know, hold the presses.
And if skilled migrants want to stay in Australia permanently, they'll be required to live in Adelaide, Darwin, Hobart or regional Australia for 3 years.
Drought notwithstanding, they're going ahead. They want more migrants.
Immigration was responsible for more than half of Australia's population growth in the financial year to June last year. And while the population in capital cities grew on average almost 2%, it was less than 1% in regional areas.
If we can't look after our own people, encourage Australians to stay in rural and regional areas, how on earth are you going to get migrants?
This population announcement comes just 2 weeks before the federal budget. Already, business is warning the policy could hit the bottom line.
And we're worried at the negative impact that a cut in the migration intake represents.
We can actually move to this level without impacting on the budget.
Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
The federal government has promised to ease crippling congestion in Melbourne, unveiling a new policy to send migrants to regional areas. Restrictions will be placed on the number of settlements in major capital cities and migrants offered incentives to go bush.
Setting Australia's migration policy based on this.
And there's some roads, such as the Monash in Melbourne, which are almost a car park every single morning.
The Morrison government confirms it will lower the current annual ceiling on permanent migrants to 160,000, which is almost exactly where the actual migrant intake was last year.
It's about busting congestion in our cities.
The government estimates the rising cost of time Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne drivers spend jammed in traffic is about to hit $20 billion a year.
They're trying to hide the fact that they've neglected to invest in our roads and our cities.
The big cities are where migrants tend to settle, yet regional Australia now has 47,000 job vacancies. The government's answer? It will direct 23,000 migrants a year to live for at least 3 years in smaller cities or the regions.
If people don't comply, they won't get permanent residency.
They want us people to go to the regions? Tick, that's fine.
Labor mocks the plan as more an accounting trick than a real migration shake-up, but broadly backs it. So, who's not happy? Business groups. They say the government, in economic terms, has just kicked an own goal.
A cut of 30,000 to the migration intake is not going to do anything to help economic growth.
We can actually move to this level without impacting on the budget.
Tim Lester, 7 News.